Welcome in, everybody. Today we're going to look at a new case, and we're only going to be able to get brief pieces of it because it's not being streamed anywhere. We're just getting snippets from Court TV. But let me tell you, the snippets we have are insane. First, you've got a defense attorney who's trying to get a dismissal before the trial even starts, and the judge and him are going back and forth, and the judge is not liking him already. Then you've got a defendant who is bawling while they're listening to some of his audio with the police department. And then on top of all of that, you've got this woman's friend who seems like her best friend, who is literally taking it upon herself to stand up for this woman and speak for her in her death. And she is giving it to the defense, and she is not backing down. You guys, this would have been a great trial to watch. So let me give you the backstory on this one. It occurred in 2023 in Kentucky. You have two soldiers, a wife and a husband, who were both stationed out of Fort Knox, Army. They were in Army. He's claiming that she was abusive to him for years. They have 3 children. I'm not positive about this, but I believe people knew that they had a toxic relationship, that they fought a lot. We'll get more into that. They had a birthday party for her one night. She had just turned 37 years old. And after everyone left, they were cleaning up after the birthday party. They were arguing, and then before you know it, he shoots her. He fatally shoots his wife. The kids were inside the home. The victim's name is Ashley Henning. Really pretty lady. The defendant is Jordan Henning. Again, husband and wife. And I can't remember how many years they've been together, but I know it's been a while. I believe one of the children was not his oldest child. We're going to find all this out as we go. First, let's start off here in the preliminaries. The judge says, hey, do we have any preliminary matters before we bring the jury in to start this trial? And the defense says, yeah, Judge, I got something. Let's listen to that.
Guess what the defense attorney just brought up? He's making a motion for a mistrial. A mistrial. Why? Let's go in live together and find out.
Judge, I'd like to say many of these comments.
It doesn't matter, Mr. Eckert.
I don't enjoy being called racist, and that's one of the reactions to this. I understand.
Mr. Eckert, I don't enjoy being called names too, but hey, I'm the one that decided to run for election and put the black robe on. So I take with it everything that comes with it. Nobody likes being called names. Unless you can identify that somebody that commented was a juror that called your name, it frankly doesn't matter.
Right, except I stand in my client's shoes, Judge, and this is generating.
And just for instance,
it's my client.
Okay, but that's not what your motion for the mistrial is.
Yes, it is. It says it's still up.
Well, but Mr. Eckert, your motion is not for mistrial concerning pretrial publicity or things of that nature.
Well, it's concerning the post that was supposed to be taken down.
Well, it wasn't supposed to be taken down.
Pardon me?
That's what I'm saying. Mr. Eckert, I'll listen to motions, but the motions have got to make a little bit of sense, and you can't just, throw everything against the wall. If you have a specific motion, I'll hear that, but you can't just grab at things that you don't put in your motions and things that aren't relevant to the bias of a jury and things of that nature.
Well, Judge, I think this is highly relevant,
Well, and I'll listen to that, but you've got to tell me something specific and not you don't like being called a racist. Oh, okay, but whoop-de-doo.
Those were comments.
Okay, and if it wasn't comments from, sorry that you've been called a racist, Mr. Eckert. I don't think you're racist. I hope you're not. I hate being called names on Facebook. I'm not going to get into a diatribe about the downfall of Western civilization because of social media over us being called names because of the positions that we have. So let's move forward. If it has to do with that post, I will, as I did yesterday, voir dire the jury if they have not had any type of heard, seen, anything of that nature. Then we'll move on, okay?
Well, Judge.
Anything else regarding that motion that's been denied?
Yes, I'd like to call Mr. Gillick to stand.
I've already told you I'm not going to hear from Mr. Gillick.
Then I'd like to take place into the record, Judge, some of the comments and response.
I'm not going to hear any of the comments unless you can direct them for it. No, we're not going to have a further. No, Mr. Edgar.
I want a record of what was done.
No, unless you can identify those came from a juror, that's not relevant evidence to anything.
Further, Judge, would move, as we did yesterday, to call a detective answer, because I believe it was a detective answer who commented very before you said he liked the post, and we would have was, and they said it wasn't.
Well, again, Mr. Eckert, I denied that yesterday.
Pardon?
I denied that yesterday.
Well, I'm moving again.
Okay. Well, then I'll deny it again today.
Well, Judge, I would like, I can put it as a group.
Mr. Eckert, it's denied. Let's go on. Let's start a trial today, and let's hear some evidence.
I agree, but I want these in the record. I would request these to be in the record.
Mr. Eckert, it doesn't matter what you want.
I agree, but I'm really trying to make a record of you.
No, you're not. Not unless I let it in.
Pardon?
No, you're not. Not unless I let it in.
Well, yeah, that.
And I've got to deem it relevant to the proceedings, and right now you've not proven it's relevant to the proceedings. Mr. Eckert, you might want a seat.
Pardon?
You might want to have a seat.
Then I'll take that.
Mr. Eckert, you might want to have a seat. Thank you, sir.
Is anyone else having James Owens flashbacks? I'm having major James Owens flashbacks. Whew. Okay, that's just a snippet to give you an idea of what we're going to be seeing moving forward. So, let's get to the opening statements.
The following video is based upon true crime content. Therefore, it may contain images and/or language that some find disturbing. For this reason, viewer discretion is advised.
Storm clouds gathered over the Henning household, and another storm tore through that house that took her life. As soon as her friends were gone, Jordan Henning came in, and you'll see and hear, because this storm too was caught on camera. Surveillance cameras around the house will show you how Jordan Henning raged into the kitchen and begins yelling. He screams at her, he yells at her, "You never listen to me, you don't love me." He's berating their son. It gets to the point, you'll see, she yells for the kids to go to their rooms and close their doors. You'll see and hear how one of the children ran next door to the neighbors, and you'll see how the neighbors came to try and intervene and calm him down. And he threatens them. And unfortunately, you're going to see, after all of the turmoil, all of the threats, you're going to see Ashley Henning sitting in a chair, and Jordan Henning shooting her as she sits there pleading with him to put the gun down. You'll see how she tries to get up and run. He follows, stands over her and shoots her, gets another magazine and comes back and stands over her and executes her. And you'll see how he spits on her body as he walks away. And you'll hear He does a countdown. He tells her, this is going to end in death tonight. And you're going to hear him tell her it's all her fault. Now, I don't know what kind of explanation or excuse one can come up for that. But when you've heard all of the evidence and you've seen and heard the video, I'm going to ask you to find Jordan Henning guilty of murder.
Thank you, Mr. Carl. Mr. Brigney, Mr. Edgar, do you want to open or for the judge? I can see your bill. All right, thank you. Mr. Edgar, you all have a, we do, Judge, if you could just give us 1 second. Sure. Thank you, Judge. How do you want that position, Mr. Edgar? Do you want, we can equal, I think it'll, it's the report and everything will reach you to put it directly in front of everybody so that they're not, then you may have to move your podium a little bit. I mean, we can put it where it's directly in front of everybody. Yeah, go on. I think, there we go. There we go. Well, there's one. Why don't we do that? Yeah, I just don't want to lose sight. Thank you. Your Honor. Counsel. Deputy Detective. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen of the jury. Good morning. Now, ladies and gentlemen, Jordan Henning was an outstanding soldier. He served his country honorably, both in the United States and overseas. He placed himself in danger. He served our country and served our country to protect us. Tragically, on this date, and this is a man, the evidence will show, no criminal record, no brushes with the law, never committed a crime in his life. But on this day, he snapped. He lost it. He went over the edge. He killed his wife in his home. The home had a security system, which he helped install. And so the shooting is on video. The shooting is awful. But having said that the video is awful, ladies and gentlemen, Jordan Henning, as I said, broke. He's not the first person to break, and he broke. There's no other explanation. He went over the edge, and he went over the edge for a variety of reasons. One, he was embroiled in a marriage that was horrible. The proof will show that there was physical abuse in the marriage and had been for years. Grabbing of the testicles to the point where he was in pain. Mental abuse, you're worth nothing, you're nothing at all. You're useless, you're worthless, you're not a man. It was day after day, year after year, you're nothing. He had a condition where he had to take testosterone, and there were repeated remarks, you're less than a man. And while he was, those things were building up, ladies and gentlemen, he had 1, 2, 3, 4, 9 trips to a national training center, combat. It's designed to be as rough as combat by the Army to prepare you for combat. And 9 trips, it is not, you'll hear testimony, it is not infrequent that people die. All right, there's an acceptable loss rate to prepare people, and he went 9 times to this training session, and it was 9 times. He might as well have been in combat or close to it. He was deployed overseas once, and on that trip, he was supposed to go to Kuwait, or supposed to go to Afghanistan. He went to Kuwait, and then they had him go into southern Iraq. He was in what's called an imminent danger zone. He was constantly on the alert. There's mortar fire in the area, small arms fire. And this is a man who was trained, ladies and gentlemen, to react, to protect himself, to go into danger if there was he perceived danger. And in this particular case, ladies and gentlemen, he went into that mode. It's a reflexive mode as he lost it and lost his bearing and lost his way. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we have a tradition. I believe we do in this country. We have a tradition. We do not, and never have left our soldiers on the battlefield. We've never left them to die. Never. And ladies and gentlemen, this case is serious. The video is very serious. It's horrible, but I'm going to ask you not to leave this man on the battlefield, not to leave him out there to die. At the end of the case, we're going to ask you to convict him of a very serious crime, but not murder, because he is not a murderer. He's not a criminal. He broke. Let me explain, I guess, a few of the reasons why I'm standing here and standing up for him. We looked at his military record and the things, the evaluation, the performances that he got. He got performances that evaluations. They would say, ladies and gentlemen, and I've got some of them right here, if I can. Among them, Henning ranks as the #1 out of 2 sergeants that I rate. His potential's unlimited. Henning absolutely needs to go to ACL and promote to SSG ahead of peers. This NCO needs placed in position of increased responsibility as quickly as possible. Henning provided guidance to soldiers on training all personnel in a fair and equal manner. Dedicated NCO consistently sacrificed time to ensure all soldiers' needs were met. All right. This is a career that went on for years. All right. Exhibited highest standards in loyalty, personal courage, focused on mission accomplishments with superior results, treated subordinates with fairness and respect, stood above his peers in his ability to lead soldiers, can be relied on to accomplish any task, confident leader, ensures his soldiers are trail-trained, motivated, self-confident, performs high-quality work. Everyone, his respect for his subordinates, his respect for his peers, his service, his dedication, his loyalty, they are cited again and again. And in fact, the lack of selflessness, his selfish service was beyond reproach. Completely dedicated to the mission of his shoulders. He's rated not just qualified or something. He was highly qualified. He will excel in positions of greater rank and responsibility. I could continue a lot. I'm not gonna, that was Jordan Henning in the service of our country, protecting us. All right, let me tell you a little bit about Mr. Henning. This right here, that military is one of the reasons we're service, is one of the reasons we're standing up for him here. Let me tell you a little bit about Jordan. He grew up Sardinia, Ohio, small town, 700 people, farming community. He's raised by his mother, grandfather. I don't know that he ever met his father, but his mother and his grandfather loved him. They raised him. Went to high school in Sardinia. He excelled. Played every sport, National Honor Society, straight A's. He also worked. He worked throughout high school. After high school, he continued to work. He had various jobs. The job he loved the most was tutoring, counseling severely handicapped children in a group home. He had a knack for it. These people were severely disabled. He had a knack for communicating with them. But he had always wanted to be a police officer, or he wanted to join the military, either one. And ladies and gentlemen, that's exactly what he did. He joined the military, he enlisted in the United States Army, and he enlisted September 28, 2012. In 2013, July, he was assigned to Fort Stewart in Georgia. There at Fort Stewart, he was trained for deployment to Afghanistan. He was deployed. Instead of to Afghanistan, they sent him to Kuwait and were excursions into southern Iraq. All right. And there, he was constantly on the work, danger, imminent danger zone. You had to be on guard, day in, day out, 24 hours a day, every second. Well, while he's in Kuwait, he gets a Dear John letter from the woman he'd married previously. She says, see you later. So now he's in Kuwait. He was serving overseas when he got that letter. And it's there in Kuwait that he met the person he married, Ashley. She was older. She was 27. He was 24. She was of higher rank. They began to date. She had 2 children. Tyler was 1 and Carter another. On May 27th, or 2016, they got married. Now, ladies and gentlemen, the proof's going to show that for my client, this marriage was an emotional nightmare. I'm aware every marriage has, both sides, but for Jordan Henning, this marriage was a descent into hell. He became attached to the children, yes. He raised the children as his own, Tyler and Carter. Carter, I think, was young, too. He ended up calling him dad. He taught him soccer, taught him how to cook, bonded with him, attached with him. He tried to become the best dad in the world, all right, to both children. But because Carter was younger, he bonded with Carter. And he tried to make Carter do everything he could for Carter, with Carter, as if Carter was his own. But the marriage itself, ladies and gentlemen, just was, it was just a train wreck. They went out to, or transferred to Fort Collins, Colorado. The abuse he got was quiet, you couldn't see it. There were kind of flashes of potential of violence. And she was arrested obstructing police with violence. He never said anything. The higher command never found out. She was able to stay in the Army. She tampered with his brake lines in the motorcycle. She would occasionally hit him in the back. She would, as I say, squeeze his testicles. There was no intimacy. It was just the pain. The testicle was painful, but even more painful was the remarks. You're worthless. You're worth nothing. You are nothing. Okay? And some of the texts he wrote texts about maybe up there now. You don't love me. You don't respect me. You don't care about me. He knew it. There was really no bones about it. No intimacy at all. No pretense of intimacy. It is, you're worth nothing. I don't want you. 2 questions. Why didn't he report abuse? We'll present multiple reasons for it. Multiple reasons. First, who would believe you? You're a tough soldier. You've gone to the National Training Center. All right? You've been deployed. You've been trained. You've been trained to kill, a reflexive action. You're saying that this person is pushing you around? You're allowing this person to squeeze your testicles? Nobody would believe. No one would believe me at all. It's like the reverse of what's happened over years when allegations have been made. Women have made allegations no one believed, but nobody would believe that he, ladies and gentlemen, this tough soldier, could possibly be abused. And of course, it's in quiet, it's in secret, it's behind closed doors. But even the people close to them knew this marriage was a disaster. And he certainly confided to people he trusted. Yes, this is what's going on. Second, not only did he fear being ridiculed, but in his experience, When someone makes a complaint like that of abuse in a domestic situation in the military, the person who comes out unscathed, the person whose career keeps going, is the person of the higher rank. She was higher rank. And who gets drummed out of the military? Who's the one who takes the hit when those allegations are made? The lower rank, and he was the lower rank. He thought if he made a complaint, that was his career in the military, a career he dreamed of, a career he was, spent more than a decade building, and the military was his family. He thought that would be it in my career. That would be it for the military. That would be it for me. It's another reason as well. My client had a child, Riley, by a prior relationship. When he had Riley, the mother, I guess, disappeared. I think the mother, unfortunately, became addicted, disappeared. My client did not see her until he was on video, on video when he was in Kuwait. He filed that up when he finally got to see her. He fought for custody. He got custody of her. All right. And in fact, got custody of Riley, raised Riley. So now he's raising Riley and he's raising Ashley's 2 kids. But at some point, because he really wanted custody bad, he persuaded Ashley to help to adopt Riley. She did. But then the remark was, man, if you leave me, guess what I'm going to do? You're going to lose Riley. You are going to lose Riley. And of course, he'd lose Carter and he'd lose Tyler and he'd lose the military, he believed. Everything he had would be gone. So he stayed in this marriage, which for every minute was almost every minute a living hell. Eventually, as this marriage hurtled toward the rocks, the marriage became almost a kind of an open one. He saw people, but he loved her. She saw people, and she made clear she didn't love him. One time at a party, he remarked, it was time to leave, and he remarked to her, hey, let's go to bed, not in a salacious way, but hey, let's go to bed. And the person there heard her say, I'm not going to bed with you. The marriage was hurtling towards, as I said, the rocks. Let's go to June 26, 2003. That's her birthday. In fact, she didn't want a birthday party. She didn't want a birthday celebration, but neighbors decided they'd give her one anyway. I don't know why she didn't, but she did not. So that afternoon, neighbors come over, kids come over. They play soccer and so forth. My client brings out the slip and slide. There's hot dogs, there's hamburgers, and so forth. Apparently having a good time, but like many things, the truth is hidden. At some point outside, he literally just touches or tries to touch Ashley's cheek, and the response is a squeeze to the genitals, the point where it's painful. My client begins to decompensate. At some point, ladies and gentlemen, arguments start, and there's neighbors who come over. Jimmy Watts, Mr. Bokert also came over. Let me tell you about the neighbors. My client in that neighborhood did everything, the proof will show, everything in the world for the neighbors. He saved, people would now post, he saved the neighborhood, he saved our lives. You know, there was flooding in a neighbor's house. Who would pump it out? Jordan. People needed their car fixed. Jordan. People needed grass cut. Jordan. People needed trees down. Who was going to cut them up? Jordan. People described him as the best neighbor you could possibly have. That was Jordan Henning. After this happened, the proof was shown. It's understandable. They turned. Boy, did they turn. He's just a terrible guy, this and that. When in fact, we got proof. They talked with him. They were in group chats. They went drinking with him. That month, I think there was 130 texts between their first witness, Jimmy Watts, and our client. And he was considered a great man and a great man in the neighborhood and great for raising Carter. But this day, he began to collapse. And as he's arguing and as he's getting angry, all these things start building. Watts comes over, and I think Carter comes over and said, our parents need help. Watts comes over, and really, he tackled our client. They go to the ground. My client lets him out, but as Watts leaves, he says, I'm going to get my gun. He's on his property, Watts is, and he says, I'm going to get my gun. And my client goes to Jordan Henning, goes into a reflex action, reflex training, all that military. He's convinced that he's in danger. He goes upstairs and gets his gun, which he had not had. After he gets his gun, he sees Watts in another silhouette on the property. He believes Watts, and it may hurt him. He believes to the silhouette, whoever it is, may hurt him. He believes his own wife may hurt him. And at this point, he goes over the edge completely, and he loses it completely, and he breaks completely. And he breaks completely, and he takes the gun, and he shoots multiple times, and he gets in the car going nowhere, and he ends up on Rhineyville Road. This is what he looks like when he's stopped by police. Let's take a look. Oh, that didn't have the problem. She was in the I'm sorry. Listen, I I'm sorry. She just kept me going down. She couldn't do it. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Don't do that. Don't do that. Sorry. If you're sorry, then don't teach me. As he repeatedly bang, bang, bang. They take him to jail. He's charged for murder. And these forces, dark forces indeed, the military training, they all combined. His appointment. And the worst of all, worse than any physical abuse, being told, you're nothing, you're not a man. They all overcame him until he snapped. Now that's what happened. Is the video awful? Yes, it is. Is the shooting awful? Yes, it is. But is our client, is Jordan Henning a murderer? He is not. I'm going to ask you at the end of this case to convict him of something very serious, not murder, because I don't want you to leave him on the battlefield. I don't want you to leave him out there for dead. I don't want you to leave him for, quote, the enemy to take him. I don't want you to leave him to serve out the rest of his life when he served our country. So I'm going to ask you to find him not guilty of murder, but he should be punished. We'll admit that he should be punished. We'll admit he should be convicted of a serious charge. But he's not a murderer, and I'm asking the court, you all, not to convict him of murder and not to take away the rest of his life. Thank you.
Okay, I just need to make a quick correction there. I thought that the oldest child was her child that he adopted, but no, it's his child that she adopted. So, correction. A couple of things we learned here. First of all, he was an NCO. So I know you guys are going to say, if you're not familiar with the different ranks in the Army, I'm going to tell you what an NCO is. It's a non-commissioned officer. It's an enlisted leader, typically a sergeant or higher, who is responsible for training, leading, and mentoring soldiers and for ensuring the unit's readiness and discipline. But it sounds like she was a higher ranking officer. It looks like the defense is going with oh, he's guilty, but he's not guilty of this, and you need to convict him of a lesser charge. Yes, he did it, but it was because he was physically and mentally abused by the victim. One of the huge factors that he mentions here is that the victim was taking testosterone. And I looked it up and I wanted to see what the effects are. And it says testosterone, which is a male sex hormone, has been linked to aggression and violence in both animals and humans. However, the relationship is complex and not fully understood. Studies have shown positive correlation between testosterone levels and aggressive behavior in both men and women. Higher testosterone levels have been associated with increased risk of violent crime, particularly in men. Some studies have said there's no correlation between testosterone and aggression. And so they say that the testosterone levels can vary wildly among individuals, and not all men with high testosterone levels are aggressive. It's important to note that testosterone is not the sole determinant of aggression. While testosterone may play a role in aggression, it is not the only factor involved. The relationship between testosterone and violence is complex and influenced by multiple variables. More research is needed to fully understand this connection. So we can't really jump to that conclusion, but I think that the state is really going down that road hard. All right, next up, let's get to the body camera because I think it's important that you guys see this as soon as we can. This was recorded inside their home from a Nest camera that he installed. They have redacted the audio in some areas because of offensive language, which kind of sucks because it's hard to figure out what exactly is going on. But it's interesting and it is telling. Let's get to it. I know it's a little bit hard to hear and understand exactly what was going on there, but just remember that if you go back to the opening statements by the prosecution, he kind of lays out everything that happened. I think a lot of this stuff was cut off. We couldn't even watch it. They wouldn't allow anybody but the jury to watch it, probably. I'm not sure what sequence these were shown in court, so I'm going to go by my best guess on this. You'll notice the little boy ran out of the room. He ran out of the house during that scene. So he runs over to this neighbor's house. So I think the best thing to do is for us to next go to the neighbor's testimony. And then after that, there is a deputy who had body worn camera on, and we can hear the audio from Jordan when he was taken in.
It's not offered for the truth of what's stated. It's to explain what he did next.
It does. I would think it was a truth matters asserted. I think he's just kind of explaining how things went.
Yes.
Since it's not a truth matters asserted, it would be hearsay. Thank you.
Carter asked for me. He asked my daughter, "Is your dad home?" And she said, "Yeah, what's going on?" She obviously recognized that he was upset. He said that my mom sent me over. She needs your dad's help. My dad is super mad at my mom, and she needs you to come over. My daughter immediately came to the stairs, to the cellar, and called out for us. When I came upstairs, she told me what Carter had said, and I did just that. I walked out the front, headed over to find out what was going on. As I did that, I commented to her, "Go get Jimmy," who was our other neighbor to the north of our house. Carter had said, "Jimmy's already over there." So I came out the door and walked across the street through our front yard, through the ditch and over into the front yard of the Henning's house.
When you approached their house, did you hear or see anything?
I did. So when I came out of my house, as I was moving toward their house, I was immediately aware of a lot of activity. In as much as all of the neighbors, there were many people out of doors, kind of like a crowd, if you will, but not gathered together. They were milling about, just wondering what was going on. It was clear to me that something had transpired that I had not heard because we were down in the basement, but something had happened. Some of the neighbors were calling out, asking what's going on. Some of the others I just noticed were standing out there. There was some commotion, some activity to the left side of the house. So that's where I went to. I went to that area. There's a chain link fence, 4-foot chain link fence that surrounds the back of the house. So I approached the fence. As I approached it, Jimmy Watts came out of the house. Correction, he came off the deck because the deck lets out into the backyard. He came off the deck and around the side to the fence. And the first thing he said was, "You need to call 911. I asked why. He said that things were getting out of hand.
Without saying what Jimmy said. Without saying what Jimmy said beyond the call 911, what was his demeanor?
He was distressed. I will use the word excited, but not in a good manner. He was clearly under duress, like something was wrong. So I tried to find out what was going on. As I approached the property, one of the other neighbors to the south side of our house also came over. He followed me over. So his name is Robert Jennings. He talked with Jimmy. Jimmy kind of explained that Jordan was upset. He was angry and was a bit out of control. He explained to us some of the things that happened that he witnessed in the house and had said, "Hey, we need to call 911. Jimmy's wife, my wife, were also outside. I turned around to talk to them for just a minute, maybe two. During that time, Robert and Jimmy were talking with Jordan. I saw them talking with him. So Jimmy was distracted a little bit. Once they talked with him for a little bit, at that point, Jordan was insistent that we leave his property, we mind our own business, get out of here. So Jimmy started to come around to the left of the house, maybe 20 feet is an opening in the fence, a gate. So he went to the gate and started to come around the fence. I was maybe 5 feet from the fence. Robert was in front of me. Robert turned around and motioned to me to follow him. When I did, Robert said, "He is not right. You need to get out of here. We need to get out of here." That's not a quote. That's the gist of what he said. I took that with good credibility. Robert is a retired military policeman. So, I figured he knew what was going on. I asked him why, and he said he didn't know if Jordan had a gun, or not, but he certainly had his hand behind his back and was acting as if he did. So he said, hey, we need to get out of here. He walked over toward his house. At that point, Jimmy became aware that no one had called 911. Even though a lot of people were standing around, he had announced it clearly when he came out. Somebody needs to call 911. The neighbor behind the Hennings house was, the best way to say it is screaming, "What's going on? You better get quiet. I'm going to call the cops." And we were like, go ahead, call. Because I was called out of my basement in such a hurry, and I was in such a hurry to get upstairs, I left my phone downstairs, sitting on our freezer. So I didn't have a phone. Jimmy's phone was on charge. He was charging it, so he didn't have his phone. His wife, Amy, was there. She dialed 911, but said that she didn't know what to do. She didn't know what to say. So she dialed 911, but handed me the phone. When the operator answered, I said that we needed somebody to come out to the house where we were at. There was a domestic dispute, and we needed them to send somebody out. They asked me what the address was. I knew what my address was, but I wasn't sure what theirs was. So I turned around, I looked at the mailbox. I got the address and I gave it to the operator, and she proceeded to ask a couple of questions, what my name was, where I was from, where I lived, and then she asked what was going on. And I said there was an argument. It was vocal but turned physical. She asked in what way it turned physical, and I said, I don't know firsthand. I wasn't in the room. And she said, okay, that's fine. She asked a few more questions. I don't recall what they were. They were just not random, but administrative questions. And then she said, she clarified, she asked, did someone tell you what happened, or did you see what happened? And I said, no, someone told me. My neighbor told me what happened. And I said, do you want to talk to him? By this time, Jimmy had come around the fence. We were out in the front yard, and she said, yes. So I called Jimmy over. I handed him the phone, and I said, this is the 911 operator. She wants to speak to somebody who saw what was going on in the house. So he took the phone, was talking with the 911 operator. At that time, Jordan was still obviously angry, upset, and demanding that we left the property, that we mind our own business, that we hang up the phone. And so we all, the four of us that were standing there, moved away from his property. We went out into the street and then across the street onto my property, and continued talking with the 911 operator.
While you were beside or behind your house there, before you all moved back there, could you hear what Jordan Henning was saying?
I could.
Do you recall anything specific?
I'm sorry?
Do you recall anything specific in his demeanor and the way he was saying it?
Yes. He had, again, his demeanor was anger, and he was upset. He was, so from the time that I went over to the house with my daughter, Jordan was there. He was intoxicated. seemed like really, like happy drunk, had a very distinct absence of personal space, which I know to be something that happens when he drinks. But he was clearly, he wasn't slurring or stumbling or falling down or anything. He was making sense. He was clear. He was shouting that we get off his property. He knew we were on the phone with 911 and commented several times, "You better hang up the phone. You don't need to get anyone else involved. This is not your business." He was hollering at us, shouting. So at this point, and throughout the whole instance, I could hear him. I could not see him.
Okay.
When Robert and Jimmy came over, Robert was a little bit further to the left of where I was, and he could see around the back of the house.
Okay. Well, reminder, unfortunately, this is not being streamed all the way through. We're just having to pick up the pieces that Court TV is laying out here for us. So we're going to move on now and we're going to watch, well, actually, it's just audio, but the audio of the body cam worn by one of the deputies. After they stopped him, I guess the husband got in the car, took off, and they ended up having to track him down.
We're listening to audio of the body cam footage of Deputy Daniel Shoemate, who was dispatched for a domestic violence incident at the Henning home.
That's what we're gonna do. Well, we're gonna have to do this anyway, so. Alrighty, man. Hey, first things first. Alright. Can you hear me okay? I just want to to stop. Okay. Hey, man, I get it. Hey, boss, can you hear me okay? Okay. I have to read you this, okay? Before I ask you any questions about what's gone on tonight, okay? This is something that I have to do, okay? So, first things first, you have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in the court of law. You have the right to an attorney. If you cannot afford an attorney, one will be provided for you. If you decide to answer questions now without an attorney present, you will still have the right to stop answering at any time until you talk to an attorney. Do you understand your rights?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, here's the next thing. Before I ask you any questions, I'm going to have EMS come and check on you, okay? If you have any injuries whatsoever from whenever you were talking to her or whenever we were here, okay, they're going to ask you all those questions, okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, I'll have EMS come on over.
Are you hurt anywhere?
Yes, ma'am.
Where?
My left thumb.
What happened?
I swear Ashley was hitting me and I kept trying to defend myself. Yeah, grab my thumb. It's like,
all right, go ahead and hop on out for me.
wait, yeah.
Yeah, hop on out.
That way they can look at it. She kept twisting my thumb.
Now, I'm going to tell you right now, you're not coming out of the cuffs, okay? And if
Yes,
you
sir.
fight either one of my EMS workers, it's going to be a bad day for you, understand?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I'm trying.
You're fine.
She kept
Listen, you've been calm with me, but I
twisting
need
my thumb.
Which thumb? Which thumb?
This one right here. She kept twisting my hands when I got trying to push her away from hitting me. This one right here. The one I'm wiggling.
Yeah, I see it.
Yeah, that one. And she kept twisting it.
Okay.
Can you wiggle it? You want to put it?
I get you. I understand. Okay, are you hurting anywhere else, boss? Okay. All right, man. Go ahead and hop back in for me, okay? All right. Here, turn your legs towards me. All right, you're good right here, okay? I just want to talk to you for a minute, okay? Once this train passes, I'm going to have a couple questions for you, all right?
I didn't want to hurt her.
Well,
I'm just not tired of the abuse. Please just kill me. Don't want to hurt her. I didn't want to hurt her.
Hey, man,
She just kept
I get that.
hitting me.
I get that, boss.
She just kept hitting me. She wouldn't stop.
I get that,
She
man.
just wouldn't stop.
I understand. Okay. I understand.
No, you don't. No, you don't.
So,
What do I gotta do? Just kill me.
No.
I don't want to go through this. Please.
Absolutely
She
not.
just hurt me. She wouldn't stop hurting me.
tell me what happened. Tell me what
So many
happened.
years of abuse. We were going through counseling. She would not stop hurting me. She wouldn't stop. And everybody believed her.
Okay.
That she was just an amazing woman. And she just wasn't. She kept hurting me. She just kept hitting me. She just kept abusing
So
me.
she's been hitting you? Has she been hitting you tonight as well?
Yes, sir. As soon as our friends left for her birthday, she started beating on me and hitting on me and yelling at me, and I just couldn't do it. I told her, I said, please stop. I grabbed my gun. I said, please stop, please stop, please stop. And she just wouldn't stop.
Okay.
I tried so hard.
Did she hit you anywhere on your stomach? Do you know?
She hit me in the face, and then she hit me in my chest.
All right, do me a
Not my
favor. Look at me.
stomach.
Do me a favor. Look at me so I can see your
Yes, sir.
face. Let me see your face.
Yes, sir.
Oh, yeah, you are.
Yeah, please.
Hey, Hammond, bring your camera.
I wouldn't hurt my, I love her so much. I just.
Hey, buddy, do me a favor. Do me a favor, okay? You're bleeding. Don't get blood on my car, okay?
Am I?
Yeah, you're bleeding a little bit.
You know, I heard her. I heard her. I'm so sorry.
I get you.
I'm so sorry.
Hey, bro, you remember what I said before? I need you to take a breath. Take a breath. All right, we're going to take some pictures of where she hit you at, okay? Hey, man, I need to take these pictures.
I didn't want her.
Hey, buddy, I need you to look up here,
She
okay?
wouldn't stop hitting me.
I need you to look up here
She
for me.
wouldn't stop hitting me.
Hey, buddy, I need you to look over here for me. All right? Look to your right.
I can't.
Buddy.
She just.
Yeah.
I don't care.
Hey,
She
man,
just-
I
No,
need
I'm
to
the
see
problem.
these wounds.
No, at the end, I'm the problem. She was an angel. I'm sorry.
Listen, man,
Listen,
I
it
don't.
doesn't matter how much she hit me. She was an angel. I'm sorry. She just kept beating on me, and I just couldn't do it no more. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I get that.
I'm sorry. I'm
Hey,
sorry.
bud, don't do that. Don't do
I'm
that.
sorry.
If you're sorry, then don't hit your head on it, man.
I hurt the woman I love more than anything in this world. She just wouldn't stop hitting on me. She wouldn't stop.
Hey, man.
And even when the neighbors, she called for the neighbors, they wouldn't come. They wouldn't stop. I just.
Hey, buddy. Hey, buddy. I need you to look to your right for me, okay? I need to photograph these wounds,
I'm
okay?
sorry. Yeah, I was just gonna say.
How long have you served, bro?
11 years.
11 years. Where'd you serve at? Where you post at?
I was in Georgia,
Okay.
and then I was in Kuwait,
Okay.
and then I was in Iraq.
How long were you in Iraq?
About 6 months.
Okay.
And we did some stint in Afghanistan.
Good.
And I went back home to Georgia.
I get you.
And then we went over to Colorado where I met Ash. And
Oh, yeah?
I just,
How'd you like Colorado?
I did.
You didn't like Colorado at all?
No,
Bro, Colorado's beautiful, ain't it?
the only thing I came out of good at Colorado was her. No, you.
Oh, you stayed on base the whole time, didn't you?
No, I was next to the airport, but the only thing that was good was her.
I get you.
Sorry, I didn't mean to hurt her.
Hey,
I just
buddy.
didn't mean to hurt her.
Hey, buddy.
She just kept hitting on me, and I couldn't take it no more. And I'm sorry.
I get
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I
I'm
get
sorry. I'm sorry. I'm fucking scared.
Hey, buddy.
She kept hitting me. She kept hitting me.
Hey, buddy, what's your name? What's your name? I don't even know who you are yet, bro.
She just kept hitting.
Hey, buddy.
She bit me.
Can I introduce myself to you and you introduce yourself to me?
Well, then at the end of the day, I'm gonna hang. I'm gonna be my hangman's noose. At the end of the day, I'm a man. I hurt a woman. That's it. To be honest, and it doesn't matter how much she hurt me. It doesn't matter.
It matters to me. I understand. I understand it doesn't matter to you, but it matters.
Daddy, no, it doesn't.
It matters to me. Okay. It may not matter to you, son, but it matters to me.
She just kept hurting me. She just kept hurting me.
I get that. I get that, and I understand why. And I understand that you don't care about your situation, but I do.
I just want the kids to you don't hurt me no more.
And man,
that's just it.
I'm gonna tell you, the kids are probably gonna be okay.
No, they're not. They're going to be without their mom. They're going to be without dad. They're not going to be okay. And the thing is it just kept hurting me.
Hey man, here's what I need.
You can just kill me, dude.
I'm not going to kill you, bro.
No, please do it, because all I did was hurt the one woman I loved on this earth.
I need you to be right.
Just what I got to do, just kill me, man. Just
you're right.
She was the only woman I loved. She was the only woman I loved. That was it, man. She just hurt me. She kept hurting me. I just can't.
Okay.
And no one else saw. No one else saw.
Go ahead and hop that leg into the car for me, okay? Hey, buddy, hop that leg into the car.
Give me a second, please.
Buddy, put that leg into the car.
I just wish someone would have saw it.
All right, man. Watch your elbows. All right. You got your photographs? Yeah. All right, sweet. Yeah, I don't think I'm going to be able to communicate with that. I don't think I'm going to be able to communicate with that. No, not until you get settled down. Yeah.
He gets himself settled down. So.
Okay. I'd say until Mac tells us to, I'm going to leave that there.
Yeah, that's what I'm
going to go ahead and recording off.
What I got from watching that Nest camera was that he was the one that was irate. He was the bully. He was the abusive one. And I don't know if it was just because he'd been drinking or what, but it just seemed like he was, maybe she was. I don't know, but he was definitely in a mood in that footage. And now that the police are here, all of a sudden he's crying. He's the abused one. I almost wonder if this wasn't not just necessarily premeditated to the extent of where he planned it out, but to where the point where he thought about it in advance and thought, if it does happen, I'm just going to claim self-defense and I'll just say that I was abused. I don't know. I think we're going to learn a lot here from this next witness, though. This is the woman who is friends with the victim. And this lady, I'll put it to this way. If anything ever happened to me, I'd want her to stand up for me. I do believe. I think I do. Now, that's just from bits and pieces I've seen so far. I might change my mind after watching the whole thing through. But, yeah, get ready, guys. Buckle up. This one's going to be exciting.
But during one of our conversations, not this day, but a day before or a prior event, us hanging out, Jordan was talking about his marriage with Ashley, and I told him, I said, well, maybe you and my husband can talk, because me and my husband have been married for 18 years at the time. I said, marriages have problems. You can go talk to my husband. And he said, because he actually got in my face. We were drinking. We were on the back patio. He got in my face. He grabbed in my face like this, and I pushed his hands off me. I said, Jordan, get out of my face. Step back and talk to me. Because like I said, when he's drinking, he's there. He's touchy. He's grabby. He's handsy. So he grabbed my face like this, and he goes, I need you to hear me. And I pushed his hands off me, and I said, Jordan, get off of me. Back up. You can talk to me. And I said, you probably can talk to Brandon about this, because for me, it was like he was a man. He should have been talking to my husband, more talking to my husband, because I was Ashley's friend. And he said, no, I don't. He goes, I respect your opinion. He goes, because your husband's softer than you. He goes, you're more like me. He goes, there's people that are like us. He goes, there's not many of them, but he goes, you're more like me.
Could I have a second objection? Okay. Thank you. Carry on.
And that led us into a whole conversation about how me and him, and I said, well, people like us, I said, we're just built different because of our life experiences. That's just, we have to learn to be abrasive to a point. And that pretty much led us to, him saying, well, there's just some people who are just made weak. And he goes, you're a female. He goes, not many females are strong. He goes, even a lot of men. He goes, even Jason and Jimmy, because during that conversation that night, which was a previous night, he had talked about his neighbors because they kept coming over to their house, because like I said, we talked about literally everything. We talked about religion that night. We talked about neighbors because they talked about how the neighbors knew they had marriage problems, but they would always come over when they would see them outside and wouldn't give them space to have their time. We talked about how Jordan felt that there was a lot of people that, that were soft and didn't understand, how to be hard or, what it meant to be hard. And he talked about how the neighbors, were soft, and I was different than neighbors. And he goes, a lot of people like to try to be like us. He goes, but they're not like us. So I think there was a boundary very set early on with me and Jordan from that night forward, from that conversation, to where when he put his hands on my face and I pushed him off of me and I said, Jordan, don't do that. Because I even said, there's just certain lines with me you do not cross. I said, my lines are, you do not F with my husband and you do not F with my kids. And he laughed and he goes, yeah. I said, that to me, you mess with my husband and you mess with my kids. I said, I will gladly rock a jumpsuit and smile in my mugshot if you cross those lines with me. I said, you can come in my house, you can steal my stuff, you can do anything, but don't cross those lines with me. Don't mess with my family. That is important to me. And Jordan laughed and he said, yeah, he goes, I feel similar. He goes, but the difference between me and you is he goes, being military, he goes, I can claim PTSD, and because I take testosterone injections, he goes, I can say I had a rage moment and claim insanity. And I was like, yeah, you actually do have a leg up on me if something ever crazy did happen. So Jordan, he was just going back to the party. He was just very abrasive. He was in your face. Like, that's just who he was. He made himself known. But I think there was very early on that respect was known of Jordan. You're not going to come at me. You're not going to cross the line. You're not going to put your hands on me. That's just something we're not going to do. And I think because he's seen I was different than people he probably normally was around. I was definitely different than Ashley. He respected that boundary with me that he didn't respect with others.
So let me ask you about that conversation where he grabbed you by the face. How did that start? How did the conversation start?
That night we were talking, he was bringing up, he was talking about their marriage at the point. And he was bringing up how, he said, sometimes you just want to give up. And I said, well. Was
Ashley there when he was?
Ashley was in the house. Me and Jordan and Brandon were sitting on his back porch. And the reason Ashley had went in.
An objection there. They're going to go to sidebar, but a great moment to pause because we just heard this witness say that the defendant claimed that he could use PTSD as an argument if anything ever happened and blame it on his medication.
Spana had asked when this conversation about marital problems began, where Mr. Henning had grabbed your face, how did that conversation begin? And was that with just Jordan, or was Ashley present in that conversation as well?
No, Ashley was in the house.
And I think you had said Jordan just brought this up.
Yeah, because like I said, that night we'd had a lot of conversations. Friendship, you talk about everything under the sun. So we talked about religion and stuff and our opposing views and things on that. And then we went into the whole family thing and, he had said, he goes, well, we have issues. He goes, but what if a person just is done and fed up? And I said, well, then you need to have that conversation, like with Ashley. I said, that's not a conversation that we need to have with you. That's a conversation you need to have with her. I said, but, the thing is I said, every marriage goes through trials. And I said, me and my husband being a military family as well, been through a lot of trials. Military families face different trials than some people. A lot of maybe people who aren't in the military. I said, but that's a conversation you need to be having with Ashley. I said, or maybe you can talk with Brandon. And because my husband was sitting back on the patio, like on one area in a chair, and I was standing up against like the banister, and he was just kind of like in between. And so I was on one side of say this was the banister. I was like leaned up against this banister. My husband was over on this banister with a chair. Jordan was in between us. So Jordan came to me and he put his hands like this, and he said, and he lowered his voice. He goes, Brandon Soft, me and you are more. And then he raised it. When he said Brandon Soft, he lowered he goes, I trust your opinion more.
Okay.
And so that's.
Okay. So there was a different time that you had all discussed marital problems. Is that correct?
Yeah, we discussed marriage problems a few times, actually.
Okay. Can you tell us some of the problems that were talked about?
Jordan's primary issue he had was Ashley was not having sex with him. That was one of the main things he would always say was he didn't feel like Ashley appreciated him, and because he would do things for her and she didn't show appreciation, and she would not have sex with him. And I can tell you what Ashley said about that too, if you'd like.
Yeah.
So Ashley, because me and her had these conversations as well.
I've got an objection. If there's an objection, I'll need to, that's why I stopped. Okay. If there's an objection, I got to rule upon that quote. That's why I put you not to, okay? Go ahead.
Okay. So you told us what Mr. Henning said about it. What did Ashley say about the marital problem?
Ashley's take was her and Jordan had, they obviously were going through bumps, because we even joked about they just had their 7-year anniversary, and I gave them a gift bag full of like Vagisil, Gold Bond, because the 7-year itch, right? So I told, she said, it's marriage problems, it's the normal stuff, she goes, because I brought up to her the fact that, the intimacy with Jordan, the sex with Jordan, she said, the thing is, Jamie, she goes, honestly, she goes, I don't be with him because everything he does is for sex. She goes, the niceness and the things he does, I don't know if he's doing it because he's being genuine or if he's doing it to get sex. And she goes, and every time we have sex, she goes, everything changes. He goes back to, like, I took it as he would be nice and he would do things for her, but as soon as she gave in and had sex with him, or she'd have sex with him,
Should I make the same objection?
that then he would go back not being nice to her. That the only time he was nice to her is when he wanted to have sex with her. So she did not feel that Jordan's actions of niceness was genuine.
Did you ever see or know of any previous acts of violence between them?
That evening, as we were in the outside before we left, and this is pretty much what shut it down to where we were like, okay, we're done, we're going home. As I said, Jordan was over there. He was like in everybody's face talking about this. He took a step beside Ashley, and he took his hand was like this, and he grabbed her behind the back of her neck like this. And she did like this, like she kind of like brushed him off like that. And she said, okay, guys, I'm going to bed. But that's how Ashley was. Anytime Jordan would even say anything that was aggressive or mean, she'd walk away. She never engaged. And we were at a Lou City game. As I mentioned, we did life together. We were at a Lou City game. Jordan had drunk a good bit at the game. And as we were leaving the game, he wanted the keys to drive. Well, they had Carter and all of them, the kid. And she's like, no, you're not driving home, Jordan. And he was mad that she was not giving him the keys to drive back from Louisville. And so as Ashley got in the driver's side, Jordan's standing there still wanting the keys. And she's like, I'm not giving you the keys. And her foot was like out the door still. And as it was by mere luck that she lifted her foot because Jordan took the door and he just slammed it so hard on her. And I looked at my husband, like he didn't hit her. He did not hit her.
So he didn't hit her?
No, it did not hit her leg, but if she wouldn't have moved her leg the very second she did, he would have closed the door. But the anger behind him slamming the door on her because she would not give him the keys to drive when he was drunk, to drive their family home.
Otherwise, no other signs of physical violence?
No.
Have just a second. Thank you very much. That's all the questions I have. Across the 10 minutes. Ma'am, obviously, you considered yourself a great friend of Ashley's, correct?
Yes.
And as a matter of fact, when you were interviewed by police, you told them in the first interview that you said you wanted to be there for trial. Do you recall stating that?
Yes.
And that you wanted to give an impact statement. Do you recall stating that?
I absolutely did.
All right. So in fact, you were upset police hadn't talked to you, reached out to you immediately. Do you remember saying that?
Yes, because I was there, so why wouldn't they have?
Right. So they didn't reach out to you immediately. You wanted them to talk to you immediately. You already were talking about victim impact statements. You wanted to be, in fact, you said you weren't going to move until there was trial. You planned to move. You're going to stay here until there was trial, correct?
I said that could possibly be the case. I didn't know because if my husband got a job, I'd have had to move. I didn't get to dictate that.
Right, but I understand. But you said they planned to move to Virginia, but we're going to be here. Make sure you're here for the trial, correct?
I don't have to live here to be here for the trial. There's plenty of people here today that's here not because they live here.
Right, I understand that. But the way you put it is, and we have a transcript here,
okay,
that you are going to move to Virginia, but you're going to stay here until the trial.
So am I moving or am I staying?
Pardon me?
You're saying both. Which am I doing? Am I moving or staying? Because you're kind of saying I'm doing both. So
no, I'm not. I'm asking you. You said you're planning to move to Virginia, and but I want to be here for any trial. And if we get that far in the trial, I guess I'll give the statements like the victim impact statements. Correct? Is that what you said? You're already talking about victim impact.
yes, because
right,
there's a victim in this.
Right.
Her children are victims in this.
I understand.
And I've seen what those children went through, unlike you, unlike Jordan, unlike a lot of people in here.
Ma'am.
So yes, there was victims. I was victim in this too because I had to deal with the repercussions, unlike you that's reading off a sheet of paper.
Well, ma'am, let me ask you this, okay? I'd be happy to ask you this. You have been to court before, correct, in connection with other things? You're a guardian ad litem.
I was a guardian ad litem.
Yeah. So you've been to court.
Yes,
correct?
yes, I have.
You're familiar with court.
I sure am.
You're familiar with testifying,
I
correct?
sure am.
You've testified before, correct?
Yes, I have.
Okay, you're not someone who's going to be afraid or overcome or awed by the court system because,
Absolutely not.
right, because you're part of it and you've testified in, regarding families and children and so forth,
I
correct?
was an advocate for children, just like I'm an advocate here today to tell my side of what happened and to tell the repercussions of what happened afterwards of Ashley's children and who Ashley was as a person.
Right, but you have to answer questions because you're a witness, okay?
Exactly.
So I'll ask you questions and if you could please answer.
I'm doing
Now,
that.
you've talked about how you familiar with the court system, not awed by the court system, and that's clearly the case, and you'll come in and basically feel comfortable in court, correct?
Correct.
All right. Now, police interviewed you. You have testified something that would really be very important to upset anybody, that Jordan had talked about saying, oh, if he killed somebody, he could claim EED and so forth and get away with it. Isn't that what you said essentially?
No, I don't know what EED is. I said said he could claim PTSD and say he had a rage moment. So I don't know what you're talking about with EED. So no, you're incorrect.
Well, ma'am, let me ask you this. He could claim PTSD,
Yes.
and because of that, he could claim uncontrollable rage and insanity. That's what he told you.
No, he did not go into detail. He said, I can claim PTSD, and I can also say I went into a rage because I take testosterone injections.
Well, that's
and
just-
people with testosterone have a tendency to sometimes rage, he said. That was his words. He didn't go into the scientific things of what PTSD was or anything of that nature. So no.
Well, I got that, but I'm going to read from the Commonwealth's notice. He indicated he could get away with it by claiming he has PTSD and is prescribed testosterone, and because of that, he could claim uncontrollable rage and insanity. That's the...
Yes.
All right. Now, that obviously would be highly relevant to any prosecution of Jordan Henning, correct?
I think it'd be important to anybody in the case.
Sure, it'd be crucial information to have that the defendant said before the homicide. Hey, not that he was talking about the homicide, but boy, if I killed anybody, I could claim PTSD and uncontrollable rage, right?
Yeah.
All right. And I got to ask you, man, you were interviewed by the Commonwealth back in July of 23, correct?
Yes.
After the homicide, correct? After the incident.
Well, it was a few weeks after.
Right. And it's a very long interview, I think 30 transcribed pages, correct?
Well, I don't know what you determine as long. I mean, because it was maybe...
Well, it wasn't 1 or 2 pages. It wasn't a quick 1 or 2 words, correct?
Well, I don't know how many pages it was because I wasn't typing it out. I mean, I sat there and gave my statement, and it was probably a 45-minute incident. So however long it took.
45 minutes with the police telling them what you knew about the case, correct?
Yes.
All right. And the police, of course, wanted to know, correct, what you knew about the case, correct?
Well, they asked me about that day. They didn't ask me about the case. They didn't ask me about, it was about that day.
Well, you talked about a lot of things, seeing him before, the friendship, how much you had to drink, how you bonded over soccer. You talked about the whole thing, correct?
Because like today, they asked, how did I know Ashley? Well, they led up with what happened that day. Was I there? Tell me what I knew. And then at the end of them actually asking me about that day, I mean, we got the transcripts. They said, is there anything else you'd like to tell us that would be pertinent information or that you think would be beneficial to us understanding Ashley and Jordan and what happened or might have led up to that day?
All right. What did you say?
Verbatim, word for word? I don't know. I said a lot. I mean, you said it was, 30-something pages?
Right.
So Can you tell me what I said? And I'll tell you if I did say it or not.
Well, I'll just ask you what you didn't say.
Okay.
You never mentioned that he said before that he could kill somebody and get away with it. In the entire conversation, you're one of her best friends. You're talking to police. It's soon after the homicide. You never mentioned it.
Never mentioned.
You never mentioned the statement that he could get away with a homicide by claiming PTSD and testosterone and uncontrollable rage. You never mentioned it to police.
Because let's be real. Who thinks that someone's going to kill someone was it premeditation at that point? I don't know. I didn't even think about it at that point in time, honestly, because you know what I was doing? I was trying to tell what happened that day, my relationship with Ashley, and I didn't think you were going to sit there and try to get him off on an insanity plea either, which when I found
Does the man deserve to be defended, or should we just roll up the white
Why don't we look at the video and you tell me? I mean, but apparently you'll take anything and defend anybody for some amount of money.
Mr. Hager. I don't want too much to, I guess we're moving around the courtroom.
Judge, can I approach the benches?
Yeah,
Thank you.
remain around. One thing is you got to pick up everything that you're asking on that little red microphone.
I got you. I was asking you to approach the benches. I think you stated that, you only talked about the case that day when police interviewed you. For the attack, you talked about numerous things, correct? You talked about how you met Ashley, correct?
Because they asked.
Right. You talked about it was an organic friendship, correct?
Yes.
You talked about the kids. You talked about soccer moms. You talked about tons of things over the course of that 30 pages, correct?
I'm assuming yes.
Right. And it's on tape, and the Commonwealth did it. And obviously, you know the man's charged with murder. You knew that, right?
Yeah.
When you gave the statement.
Well, actually, I didn't know that because at that time, I didn't know if he was even he was charged with murder, but they were going through the process of trying to figure things. I didn't know what the outcome was going to be. I didn't know what was going to take place. So all I knew was he was charged with murder because I don't even think there had been a court hearing or anything prior to the fact that they had talked to me.
But you knew that he was charged with murder, correct?
Rightfully so.
Exactly. And that is obviously your opinion. And you knew he hadn't had trial yet, correct?
Correct.
And you apparently knew that he had some excuse cooked up, but you didn't tell the prosecutor or the police that statement back in July. Did you? 2023. You didn't tell them.
First off, I didn't talk to the police. I've never talked to anyone with the sheriff's department. I talked to CID on Fort Knox, which had nothing to do with the case, actually.
They said they did.
No, it was CID. They didn't have much to do with it. They were just on Fort Knox and they were investigators. And as far as the Commonwealth, the first time I'd spoke with the Commonwealth was a week and a half ago, being told I was going to actually be subpoenaed here. So I did not talk to the Commonwealth. I did not talk to the sheriff, the detective. I did not talk to anybody other than the two CID agents that were in that building that day. One interviewed me, and these guys, I don't think really had anything to do with the situation. They said they were simply interviewing me because I guess the detective was out doing some other interviews or something. So they're like, well, you guys are on Fort Knox, so we'll go ahead and interview you guys, and you guys just tell us what happened that day. Tell us. It was a blanket all over, just tell us.
When did you first tell the prosecutor? When did you first tell him about this statement that's so damning and so important?
I just told you I spoke to him for the first time a week and a half ago.
When?
About a week and a half ago. I just told you.
How long is the trial pending? The case is 2 years old, and you wait till a week before trial to tell them?
So it's my place to run people down to tell them things, or is it the prosecution and the sheriff department and all is it their due diligence to do their job and talk to me, which is it. It's not my place to run people down.
And ma'am, you know who prosecutes because you're a guardian ad litem, correct?
Do what?
You know who prosecutes cases.
I did not know who the prosecutor was on this case. Absolutely not.
The Commonwealth Attorney's Office, you didn't know they did it?
Well, I knew the appointments I came for his trial or whatever, the pre-hearings and things and all that I showed up to. I don't believe he was at all of them. I didn't even know who it was. I asked people, I said, who's actually trying this case? They said they think the Commonwealth's assistant. Then people said, no, we think it's the actual I did not know who the actual person was leading this case until a week and a half ago when I got a phone call from them saying, we need you to come in.
Did you come to court on the pretrial hearings?
Yes, some of them, not all of them.
How many pretrial hearings did you come to?
2, I believe.
And did you sit in the courtroom?
I did.
All right. And did you see a prosecutor there?
Actually, I don't even know if it was him, but the first one I went to, there was a gentleman talking, and one of the neighbors that came to the trial too, I said, is that the prosecutor? Who is it? And they said, we think that's the detective. So I was under the impression the detective was talking during the first. So like I said, there were people, as you know, a court, there's plenty of people standing up here. I did not know who was the prosecutor or who was not the prosecutor. I did not know who was the detective because I never talked to the detective. So I didn't know who was who.
Was it this man here?
No.
So was a detective on the case?
I'm assuming. I don't know. I've never seen the man.
Did you talk to anybody at the table and tell them that information?
I talked to Mr. Carr a week and a half ago. I have not talked to the gentleman in the middle. I have not spoke to, actually, yeah, he came through the grand jury room yesterday and said, hey, how are y'all? Y'all need anything? I don't even know who that man is. I honestly don't know his name. The only one I know is the gentleman on the end, Mr. Carr. And like I said, didn't meet him or talk to him until a week and a half ago.
Right. Now, ma'am, this statement that you say the defendant made, all right, did you say you'd kill somebody? Right?
Yes, I did. Absolutely.
So you said you'd kill somebody. Mm-hmm. He agreed, and then all of a sudden now it's worked into. He said he could get away with it.
It wasn't worked into anything. That's what was said.
Pardon me?
You said it was worked into it. There wasn't any working into it. That's what was said.
Now, ma'am, let me ask you this: when you got to the party that day, okay, you saw Ashley. Is that correct?
Obviously, yes.
And what was her condition?
She was drinking. She was tipsy. She was good.
Was she drunk?
Yes, she was tipsy.
All right. And then did you drink?
I had 2 mom waters, which is 3.5% alcohol. The whole 6.5 hours I was there. So I wasn't drunk, if that's what you're alluding to.
No, I'm not. Did you take a shot with her?
Yes, we did.
Okay.
We took 1 shot of that big of something. I don't even know what it was.
So she's drunk, you drink with her. I'm not saying you were drunk, correct? Now, this thing where he supposedly grabbed her, and the entire time, and let's go back to this statement, did you ever mention this time where he slammed the car door? And he almost, it would have really hurt her. Did you mention that?
I couldn't hear you. You were walking away.
Did you mention that, man? That slammed the car?
Let's pick it up right where we left off.
Do you mention that at all?
To whom and to where?
To police, when you're interviewed in July of 23, by the way, he slammed the door and it would have hurt her. Do you mention that incident at all?
They didn't ask me if he had been aggressive with her, so no, I didn't say that. I was strictly telling what happened that day, how I knew Ashley, and how our families interacted. That's what I was telling that day. I was not asked specific questions as of, did you ever see domestic violence? I mean, just like I said here, I never seen Ashley nor Jordan sit there and slug it out.
You never saw any domestic violence between the two, correct? You never saw any.
What's your term of domestic violence?
I'll ask you this. Did you ever see any violent act by him? And you didn't, and that's why you didn't mention it.
I seen him slam the car door.
Did you say that in the...
out of anger.
Did you say that in the statement, ma'am?
Why did I need to?
Is the answer no?
No.
And the answer about him ever being violent, I know you've got the thing where you put the hand on the neck. Do you ever say anything beyond that? Do you ever say the man was violent?
I think I did tell him about him putting his hands on me and getting in my space, and I think I did mention that.
You didn't say he was violent, ma'am. You said, in fact, you were friends.
So, yeah, we were friends.
Yeah.
And there's a line that you cross, and that's what I said earlier. There's a line, even with friends, that people can get too aggressive and too abrasive, and he crossed that line.
But you said you were like him. You want two peas in a pod, right?
Sure enough.
All right. Now, did you ever say he was violent towards her? You got the door slam, which you didn't mention, and you got the party. Did you mention any other incident in that 45 minutes to an hour?
No, because I've never seen Jordan hit her. If that's what you're getting at, no, I've never seen Jordan hit her, and I've never seen her hit Jordan.
I never hit, push, I mean anything that you saw.
Other than verbal abuse, no. No physical abuse, but there was verbal abuse.
Well, and then, ma'am, you're talking verbal abuse. I asked you physical abuse. There was none. Is that your answer?
I already
there was
said
none.
that. Other than the push of the car door and him grabbing her neck that day, I already stated that. Can we look back at the transcripts and quit asking the same questions?
Well, I'll ask what I think I need to ask.
I don't know if I said ask the answer. Yeah.
I'm trying to.
Objection sustained.
Now, ma'am, when you talk about that day, you left. What time do you think you left?
I left around 9:20, 9:15, 9:20 timeframe.
All right. Now, obviously, you wouldn't have left if you thought even your friend was in the slightest danger, correct? No?
No.
All right. So there's absolutely nothing. We've heard about the neck. We've heard about this and that. There was nothing at that party that would lead anyone to believe that anything like this would happen, correct?
Correct.
And nothing like this with Jordan had ever happened before. You've said this car door.
I hope he wouldn't have killed somebody before.
What?
I said, I hope he wouldn't have killed somebody before.
I'm not talking about
Still be
killing.
there.
I mean anything. You hadn't seen anything previous, correct?
Correct.
Was Jordan the one raising Carter?
No, Ashley was raising Carter.
Well, was he acting as the dad?
That he was a father figure, but I think dad is it's a word people earn, not given.
Carter called him dad, correct?
Yeah, because he was the father figure in his life.
I'll move that.
But I don't think dad's and has to have pins in his elbow. I don't think dads, when I think of the term dad, I think of endearing.
Well, you don't know whether he's endearing or not with Carter. You don't know their relationship. Do you just hate him and want to say anything you can against him?
I was friends with Jordan.
I understand that, but you hate him and you don't say anything.
No, what I don't want is I don't want so the truth can be, this trial can be about the truth. The trial can be about who Jordan was, who Ashley was, what the situation was with the kids afterwards. That's what I want done today.
So do we, except
Really?
kids afterwards, we can't talk about that. But we want to get the truth as well.
Do we?
You don't have to look at them after that.
I didn't look at them. Actually, I was looking out there in the thing because they're smirking. And when you're talking to me, I look at you.
Ma'am. When you first talked with police, let's say with the authorities, you already talked about how you wanted to be in the trial.
That would only be common sense since I'd spent 6.5 hours with her that day. I was the only one of the very few people that had spent the whole day with her leading up to it. So that would only
And that you wanted to give these victim impact statements.
Yes.
You're on a mission to convict this guy. That's what
He convicted himself. He's convicted himself.
you are ensuring, trying to his conviction.
No,
That's
what I want is I want these people, and I know you might not have a heart and understand, but everybody else in this room, I want them to understand the impact that he has had and his actions has had on so many people. That's what I want.
Right, but we're not even at that stage yet. You are on a mission.
You're bringing this up. He convicted himself. Let's show the footage.
Just so I know. Okay. Thank you.
Redirect. Mr. Eggert wants to ask about what kind of dad he was to Carter. Tell me about Carter's broken arm.
Well, when Carter broke his arm at indoor soccer, Carter went and grabbed his arm, and Ashley got up from the table right away, going over to him, and he was like, "Don't worry about it. He's fine. He's fine. He needs to toughen up anyway." Jordan had a thing. He'd be like, "I'm raising Carter to be a man." That was his situation. He said, like I said, everybody in his mind was either soft, hard, like he rated, like everybody was rated. He had an assumption of who everybody was, and you were either, in his eyes, on his level of being a hard ass, or you were a soft person. Like that's basically what it was.
He talked about that.
Yes, and he was raising Carter to be a man because Carter's biological father, in his eyes, was also soft. So he was raising Carter to be.
How old was Carter
At the time.
I don't think any of that statement was ever revealed. 724.
Oh, well, I mean, this is redirect. I'll overrule that. I'll overrule that, Jack. Go ahead.
How old?
I guess, how old?
How old was Carter at the time that we discussed it?
He was 9, about to turn 10.
9 turning 10.
He's 11 today. He'll be 12 in August.
Broke his arm at soccer.
Yes.
Jordan.
Is what he said that to him, not just even at soccer, like his. The arm was broke. Carter got slammed into, over at the sports place, he got slammed into the wall. And so Carter came off the field, and Ashley got up to go check on Carter. And he was like, "Don't go over there, don't baby him. He's fine." Ashley obviously left. So it was just Carter, or just Jordan and me, my husband, and our other friend that we've talked about. we were all sitting at a table, and he goes, she babies him too much. He goes, I don't want him to grow up to be like his dad, because his dad, you know, he's a weak man. He goes, I'm raising him to be more like me. Carter's more like me. He goes, and so that was his mentality with Carter, was don't show emotions. During soccer games, if Carter got knocked down, he'd be like, suck it up. You know, he didn't want him to show emotions, which is why I feel Carter couldn't show emotions and has not shown emotions since his mom's death, is because of the way this man has raised him.
Nothing further.
Free cross. Thank you, Judge. That whole the soccer, that's not your statement either, correct?
Did it need to be?
I'm
Did
just-
no, it
Is
didn't.
the answer
it
no,
wasn't.
it's
Yeah,
not.
the answer is no.
Right. Now, and one thing Carter said, he wanted to grow up to be a man. That's one of the things he said, correct?
Jordan said about Carter?
Yes, yes,
he wanted
yes.
him to grow
He
up
wanted
to
to
be.
grow up to be a man.
Yes.
All right. Now, this thing at the soccer game, all right, and when you say, well, he had this and that, are you aware who ended up taking him to the hospital?
Ashley and Jordan, because they were there together.
And are you aware who was with him during surgery? Ashley and Jordan? Are you aware of that? And are you aware who was there when he got out of surgery? Jordan? No one knew that this necessarily broke him at first. He was the one who went to the hospital, stood there during the entire surgery. You aware of that?
And yes.
The answer is yes?
Yes.
She said, if anybody messes with my kids or my husband, I can rock the jumpsuit and smile in my mugshot. That's like the clip of the week. But she also was like jumping down the defense's throat, like, well, only you could get paid to represent this man. I think she's somebody that could probably hang out in our chat. What do you guys think? Oh, my goodness. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to make light of the fact that this lady lost her life. I just love that her friend is standing up for her, and probably somewhere in heaven, this lady is just going, get him, get him. Looking down on her friend. Ah, okay. So that was where I got the whole thing about him thinking about if he ever did something, he could blame his meds or PTSD, and that's where I'd pick that up from. I knew I'd heard it from somewhere before. All right. Well, that's all that Court TV has showed us on this trial. And I would like to pick it up again if they show us any more this week. So I will stay on top of this for you guys. I appreciate you being here with me. This was kind of fun, jumping in and being able to just watch clips and bits, and we still kind of know what's going on. So stay tuned until the next one.